Hi there, this is Kim. Today I have a fun springy card to share with you. I will be doing some airbrushing and using Tombow Dual Brush Markers to color the image. I'm using this beautiful stamp set from Your Next Stamp called Spring Birds, and I am going to be embossing the image and stamp it onto watercolor paper because when I was trying to use Memento Tuxedo black ink to stamp it and then use Copic markers for it on Bristol white cardstock, it started bleeding. So I thought, why not just watercolor it? So therefore, I decided to emboss the image using black embossing powder. This embossing powder is by Muse Studio, but you could use any black embossing powder you'd like. I've already treated the watercolor paper with an anti-static powder so that the embossing won't stick to it that much, just to the image only. And this is the first time I've used black embossing powder, and even though I treated the paper, it still stuck to it. But in this case, it really didn't matter as much because when I'm done coloring this image, I'm going to be die cutting it. So it'll get rid of some of that black smudge that you can see on the right side. And so to start the coloring process, I am using Tombow's orange number 40, no wait, number 946 to color the flowers. And I do have a small bowl of clean water next to me, and I just went around the center of the flower with the orange marker, and then just dipping my water brush into the water and then just wiping a little bit of excess off of it. And then I went to start spreading the colors out on the flower. And that way I can control how much water is on the brush. So once I was done coloring all the flowers orange, I used green number 173, and it's a nice bright shade of green. And so I just started going around the base again and then using the wet brush started pulling the colors towards the tip of the leaves. And then the bird, I'm using the blue number 443. This one's it's a beautiful shade of blue, and I'm just going around certain areas where I think it needs to be darker, and then just started pulling the colors out and keeping the bird, lighter towards the because this the top right is where I'm going to be putting yellow for the sun, and so that's where most of the light is going to be. So I wanted to leave the bird white near his beak and his head. And when I was done coloring the image, I felt that the colors were a little bit too light on the flowers and the leaves. So I went over it again with the orange and the green colors. And the good thing about these water-based markers is once the first layer is dry and you need to add more color, you can always do that. And you would still repeat the same process by adding more colors. So that's what I like about these water-based markers. You could always add more layers if you felt that you needed to add more color to your image. So once I was done with that, I'm using the Spellbinders die to die cut this image out. And then once I was done with that, what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to be placing this scallop circle onto my card front because I will be trimming off a small portion of it. So once I'm happy with the placement of where the image would be on the card front, I'm going to just take my scissors and trim off that little excess hanging over the card. And then after I'm done trimming the image down, I'm going to make sure that I'm happy with the where it's going to be placed on the card front because I'm going to be airbrushing the background with the image on top of it because I wanted to create a sunny sky, and so I needed the placement to be just right because I'm going to airbrush everything, because my flowers and the bird image um, is orange and blue and green. The colors are going to blend just fine with it. It won't take away from the watercoloring that I did. And so I'm using Copic number Y13 to airbrush the part where I wanted the sun to be. And once I'm done with that, I'm going to use BG02, which is a nice shade of blue also. And I'm going to just continue to add as much of the blue as I felt I needed. And as you can see, I'm actually spraying directly onto the image also, and it doesn't change anything since the colors kind of blend together really well. And so when I was done with the blue, I felt that the yellow area needed some more color, and so with that I continued to add some more yellow. And as you can see at this time, I've already adhered the image directly onto the card, so it's stuck there. It's not going to be coming off. And so I just wanted to continue adding the colors until I get it to where I would like it to be, because I want it to be more vibrant. I didn't want a muted yellow or a blue tone. I was done and happy with my background. Um, I cut a piece of background paper to tie in with my orange flowers. And I love to use Tombow's Mono Multi Liquid Glue because that glue just really makes sure that your papers are nicely stuck together and they won't come off. And so I cut a strip of paper 1/2 inch by about 4 1/8 of an inch wide to stamp the sentiment. And the sentiment is also from the Spring Birds stamp set. This is my second attempt at stamping this sentiment. I'm using Tuxedo Memento black ink, and I didn't let it dry long enough, and so when I went to adhere it onto the card front, it started to smear, and so I ended up having to restamp it. This time I used a dry paper towel to place over the sentiment to press it down, and that way if it's still a little bit wet, it won't smudge. And that's my card for today. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. You can find more information and all the supplies on my blog, and the link is below. Thank you so much for watching.